Right, we've got a couple of minutes left on the on this podcast, so I thought I'd ask. And I heard you talk about it once before, and it's always the most entertaining of stories. Randy Savage and the Waffle House knife fight.
Well, when I first met Randy, we were working for Nick Goulas, which is, and that was where Jerry Jarrett broke away from that to start his Memphis promotion. So, and it ran on Wednesday nights. So on a Wednesday night, Randy Savage was hungry, and him and the Disco Inferno, not Disco Inferno, Disco something, but which was Rip Rogers. They went down to the Waffle House. And the story is in my book, by the way, that you can find at Amazon.
Links will be in the description.
Okay. So they were sitting down, and Savage was, I think they'd done a joint or two or something. Savage wasn't too much of a drinker, but he did smoke the hemp. He wouldn't do that. So he's sitting down, he's trying to order, and this waitress come up, and this guy busted through the door. And later on, we found out that he worked on the day shift at the Waffle House, so everybody knew it. And there was nobody really customers in the Waffle House at the time, but all the staff knew him. And he said, "Hey, everybody, guess what?" They said, "What, Jimmy, what?" He said, "I'm going to get married." And they went, "Oh, my God." And the woman that was taking Savage's order, she left and went around the counter and hugged him. I think he had his wife with him, future wife with him. Well, Savage was hungry, and that pissed him off. And oh my God. So the guy started talking, and Savage couldn't leave it alone. So when the woman went back to take the rest of Savage's order, Savage says, "Who gives a shit?" Well, it was kind of quiet in there. And the guy, now he's embarrassed the guy in front of his future wife. The guy said, "You better give a shit." I said, "Well, I don't." He said, "Well, we got a problem." And Savage stood up. He said, "Oh, I don't know. Do we?" I can see it as clear as day. And then the guy got up close to Savage. And you've been to Waffle House.
I've not. I've been to New York a couple of times where they don't have Waffle House, but no.
But they don't have houses there. Oh, it's down south. You'll eat up with it. They usually have what's it called, a jukebox that you used to put money in to play music. And they just started fighting. But it wasn't fighting, and Savage is half messed up anyway. So they go on the floor, and they're scuffling around, I call it. And somebody calls the police, and Rip Rogers runs out of the place. And while this is going on, the guy stands up and pulls a knife and opens the knife up. And Savage sees that. Well, he don't have a knife, but he can get one. So he jumped over the counter, the little partition, and grabbed a knife. Now come back, and they're like in the seats, the table there, and the two seats that face you, they're like this. They're trying to not do a Zorro, I guess. I don't know. They're trying to cut each other. And Savage said he looked down, and he had a butter knife. And then he heard the sirens coming. Wow, wow, wow. Well, the little guy that was going to get married, he took off. Now, in come the police. Whoa! They run in there, and they see Savage. He's up, and he's still standing in the booth. And a couple of them had worked the matches that night down at the Fairgrounds Arena. And then they went to work the night shift. And they knew Randy. They said, "Randy, calm down. Calm down." "No, man. You let him get away, man. You let him get away." He wouldn't calm down. So finally some more came, and Randy wouldn't calm down. They wanted to talk to him, but he wouldn't. And finally the sergeant says, "All right," he said, "Cuff him." They go to cuff him, and they have clubs. And Savage, he won't work with them. And he's not hitting them, but he wouldn't let them put the cuffs on him. So they start hitting him with the clubs. But he's ducking his head. And then one went to hit him, and Savage moved. He hit the other cop. God. And now he went down. And finally, somebody said, get the dog. And the dog was in one of the cars out there. And they brought the dog in. Big old German Shepherd. And I forgot his name. I remember the name a couple of years ago. And they said, Randy, stop. Are we going to turn the dog loose? I don't give a shit, man. I hate that dog. He hated everybody. So they turned that dog loose. But before he got there, Randy gave him a good kick. That just made that dog matter. And he took a bite out of Randy's butt. They had to pull him off. Now they got him down. They handcuffed him and took him to jail. So I saw him that Saturday night in Chattanooga. This is Wednesday. I didn't see him Thursday, Friday. Saturday night, I saw him in Chattanooga. And I asked him, and because I'd read about it in the paper the next day, I pulled it up and he said, oh, wrestler has a fight with something down at Waffle House. It says, Randy Savage wasn't pleased with his DQ match or something with Dutch Mantell at the Fairgrounds Arena last night. Actually, he went out and had some more fighting to do or something. And he had explained the whole deal. I said, what happened? He said, and then he told me the whole story, just like I've described here. So, and he said he went to court and they made bail because, the promoter in the town knew the police well, and they let Randy out. But I don't think he was ever charged with that. But I think it's one of the damnedest stories I ever heard Savage was in. But he wouldn't even leave that alone. After they came out with the story that he got arrested, he came out with his story. He called the paper up, said, listen, I'm going to give you my side. There's two sides to everything. And they came out, interviewed him, and then his story ran in the Sunday paper. So now it's getting more press than what it really deserved. But Savage was smart. He put the cops over in his, and he said, yeah, I was maybe a little high strung and Dutch Mantell or whatever. But I think at the end they let it go. I think the promoter just made some kind of donation to the damn police fund or something, and they just took it off the docket.
I have two quick follow-up questions. One, shouldn't weed calm anybody down, apart from maybe Randy Savage? And two, where was Rip Rogers in all of this? Was he just as a bystander, just staring?
He was outside. See, the Waffle House, if you know the way the building is built, it's floor to, it's glass windows, floor to ceiling. And the parking lot's out there. You see clearly. Everybody that's in there, everybody's in the parking lot. Well, there was a crowd assembled out there, and they were watching this ass kicking. It went on for about 15 minutes. And the crowd was gathered. Oh, I got that. Oh, my God, this is what's going on. Nobody would go in there. But the crowd was saying, what a hell of a show they got. Then the dog bit him, and where else are you going to see that? I mean, in Nashville, Tennessee, outside of Waffle House at like 1 o'clock in the morning. You can see stuff like that. And Rip was outside. And, I don't ever think that Randy forgave him for leaving him. He didn't say anything about it, but they had some trouble later on. And I think that was one of the basic reasons they fell apart. I think they may have made up at the end, but I'm not sure.